We are Group 2 and our topic is Project Scope Management. Project Scope Management is the process in which the benefits, outputs, and outcomes of a project are controlled, defined, and identified. For the definition of project scope, it is crucial to clarify the interface and boundaries with different related projects. The approach by using scope to manage various projects is dependent on the project life cycle. A scope with high level is usually being recorded in the business case in order to support the chosen option and the investment appraisal. Defining the inputs and outputs of scope clearly can prevent the risk of misunderstanding at the ending stage of the project that may result in emerging issues and changing requests. Within the scoping process, assumptions are need to be documented for stating out the work that is part of the scope. The scope detail emerges from the decomposition of chosen options to satisfy the requirements of sponsors. For the projects with a linear life cycle, a work breakdown structure is used to define the baseline scope of work for clarifying the activities that will be scheduled and resourced to fulfill all the benefits and requirements from sponsors. For projects with an iterative life cycle, it is also crucial to create the scope of work and record the assumption. The difference from a linear life cycle is that the vital requirements are prioritized in user stories and all are translated into a target scope of work to be complete under a fixed time window with resources that are defined. Solomon, as in our business case, Solomon had newly joined the company and looked over this ongoing project due to the resignation of the previous project manager, Billy Bowden. And Billy was a risk seeker and liked to find project opportunities with high risk and high return to work with. He was also taking much pressure from his boss, who kept pushing him to complete many tasks at a very tight time. So he was afraid of offending the clients and not able to fulfill the unreasonable requirements of the clients. The previously collected requirements are vague and dubious. For instance, the clients are requesting the system to be user-friendly and the user interface to be beautiful. However, none of the definitions of the mentioned requirements are clearly defined, and Billy failed to elicit these requirements from clients. The details for both functional and non-functional requirements do not have enough information. The requirement traceability matrix that lists requirements and various attributes of the requirements is missing as well. And Billy did not hold progress meeting with the clients and project team members. So sponsor did not know the actual progress and difficulties of the project. To meet the deadline, Billy adopted McGregor Theory X to manage their team members. He kept urging and scolding team members to meet the deadline, therefore causing low morale on the project team. And the clients kept changing requirements and the company lacked a management plan for controlling changes to the project scope. Therefore, scope creep happened and project members did extra work that were not in the scope.
As we know, Solomon had newly joined the company. He first started to review the existing scope management plan did by Billy. He found that the content of the scope management plan was incomplete. He reckoned that Billy did not make the good use of the template to create the scope management plan. The scope management plan did not clearly state how to control requests of changes of the project scope. Moreover, the plan did not mention how to create a work breakdown structure. Therefore, it is necessary for Solomon, as a new project manager, to make the remedy of the scope management plan and also the requirement management plan. He decided to include the following listed processes into the scope management plan. After reviewing the scope management plan, Solomon decided to define a new requirement management plan as scope management plan. Solomon adopted an iterative approach to redefine requirements. Moreover, each requirements were elicited by providing a prototype and record clearly. Solomon defined templates, procedures, guidelines for creating the scope statement, work breakdown structure, and change requests to project scope. He also defined a way to maintain and update the work breakdown structure by holding meetings with all involved workmen of the project. in order to keep track of the progress of the project development. As Solomon found existing requirements of the project collected by Billy were vague, Solomon then recollected the requirements. He told the client the fact that some of the requirements accepted by Billy were not feasible. Solomon elicited the user requirements by prototyping the application with a simple user interface to see if the user interface were acceptable with the initial design. In addition to eliciting requirements from clients, Solomon also generated requirements by comparing the characteristics of similar mobile applications on the market. After collecting requirements from the clients, Solomon had held meetings to discuss the feasibility of the requirements collected by his colleagues and subordinates, and then document the requirements traceability matrix. By doing so, the requirements to their origin and traces were linked throughout the project lifecycle from inception to deployment and validation. After approved requirements can also be facilitated after implementation.
Thank you, Oswald. I am Working Man Solomon, and I will now discuss about the defining scope process in the business case review. Although the previous project manager, Billy, did not define the project scope, he had worked with clients and project team members to create the project charter. With the project charter and requirements documentation, Solomon defined the scope statement and iteratively translated the business requirements into the project scope and compared it with the client's expectation. The client, Hong Kong car organization, demanded different expectations on the mobile application. Solomon accepted them to have different product requirements and scope. Then, the project team built the mobile application for the clients to review. However, the cycle of iterative defining scope did not stop. The client kept demanding for more different expectations on the mobile application. Yet, Solomon felt that the clients did not know what exactly they wanted indeed. The needs and expectations given from the client kept shifting from one to another. Solomon could not endure the insatiable changing requirements by the client anymore. The cycle was like an endless process in a vicious cycle. The project team built a mobile application, but the client kept changing the expectations to the new direction every time. Therefore, Solomon refused the client's request after myriads of building on the application and numerous reviews by the client. Solomon believed that keeping changing the expectations from the client harms the progress and efforts put by the project team. Accepting all the requests by the client is never a good option for the project team. Blindly following the client's expectations detriments the project team's spirit, as the changing requirements wasted the team's effort put during the iterative cycle. Therefore, refusing the changing and irrational expectations is a good approach when facing clients with changing requests. The figure shows that the project scope statement that Solomon have created. It shows the requirements, the project scope, the project's deliverable, the acceptance criteria, and also the constraints of the project.
Thank you very much. I'm Jason. Now let's discuss about creating a WBS. After Solomon successfully handled the problems of requirement gathering and scope defining, the next task he did is constructing a work breakdown structure. It contains all necessary work that needs to be done in the project. As Solomon knows that communication is crucial. To ensure the work breakdown structure is defined properly, he started a project meeting with all the team members involved to discuss about it. During the meeting, he kept asking the team members to speak up their opinions and ideas about the tasks that need to be fulfilled, how the work should be divided during project execution period, as well as responsibility of the individual task. He ensured all team members had agreed on the division of workload to prevent unfairness and unnecessary conflicts. Besides, the work breakdown structure created is flexible and easy to make changes in case of any unexpected situation or client request. Last but not least, a WBS dictionary is also created during the meeting in order to clearly explain each WBS task in detail for reference. For validate the scope, as the clients often change their requirements and add more features, Solomon decided to use an agile development methodology, which implements the main functionality first and add more feature iteratively. The formal acceptance of the project scope was obtained by performing the user acceptance test. If the stakeholder did not accept the deliverables, change requests would be issued for changing the scope. As for controlling the scope, as the formal project manager, Billy, don't know how to say no and reject. He keep accepting changes from the project sponsor and fail to manage change to the scope. Therefore, it create a lot of problems such as scope creep and create many workloads to the project team members. In order to avoid the same mistake from happening, Solomon assured change requests were well managed, formal, and processed according to the procedure defined in the company's change control system.
I'm Billy, and now I would like to talk about the project charter. The initial project charter was developed by the previous project manager, Billy Broden. After Solomon was assigned to this project, he updated the assigned project manager's name and received the approval from the project sponsor. And there was no other updates on the project charter. So, basically, the project is to develop a car rental system which was started from September 1st to March 1st. The Hong Kong Car Organization budgeted 500,000 for developing the software and 200,000 for the hardware. The objective of this project is to develop a mobile system and web page to facilitate the renting car processes so that payment can be made within the system. Basically, car owners can lend their cars on the platform for monetary returns, and then customers can rent their desired cars on the system. The project charter also states the approach and risk of the project. The project sponsor, Elon Musk, is the CEO of Hong Kong Car Organization, and Solomon is the project manager, and the developers and quality assurance engineers are all coming from the JPM consulting company. The milestone of the project charter clearly states the deadline of 4 important events. The first milestone is to provide the key features of the system. After that, software testing, user acceptance test, and software enhancement will also be performed in order. After this project, Solomon noticed that project manager should not accept all the requests from the sponsor. He needs to explain to the clients why it is incapable for the project team to do some of the unreasonable requests and propose a more reasonable solution. Moreover, changes in scope should also be controlled and documented carefully. There must be a formal change control system for handling changes, otherwise it will cause the scope creep, which in turn cause the project team to do extra work. From the feedback of team members, the project manager should not urge and blame team member to miss the tight schedule, as it can lower the morale of the project team. The project manager should consider negotiating with the clients or using crashing or fast tracking to miss the deadline. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you.